their brand is worth less, it seems, at the moment in the States. That's what they're concerned about, and that is what they should be worried about.
Richard, I would love your take on, there's been some reports about what's going on with the coronation and some scheduling things and some big events that are happening. And it seems like Prince George may actually have a special role in the coronation. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, not really. The problem with this whole area, and this is also linked to Camilla's grandchildren, is that the press are in speculation mode. And the idea that, when somebody's anointed and then they have holy oil put on them, who should carry the canopy when it comes to the Queen? Could it be her grandchild? The point is, we simply don't know. And given the religious aspect of it and the significance of the ritual, I'd rather not go into that speculation. What we do know, obviously, we've been told, indeed, they might even not use the gold coach for the first part of the journey, all sorts of rumors. We're in a stage where, not that much has been announced other than obviously the bare bones of it. And it's going to be very spectacular, and they might fit more than 2,000 people in. And apparently foreign heads of state will be included, and they weren't in the earlier coronation. So that, there will be a lot of changes. But essentially, what we're looking at, it'll be a magnificent spectacle. It will have the ritual. It will be very scaled down, of course, from 1953, but then it's a totally different time. But then on the other hand, to what extent there will be alterations to the 3 hours now cut to 1.5 to 2. We simply, we don't know yet. We know the structure of the weekend. That's different.
Yeah, we don't know. We haven't had one of these in 70 years, so it's been a long time. There has also been reports. I'd love to get your take on this, that Camilla will now just be known as Queen, not Queen Consort. Do you think that is the right move if that's if it should happen?
Oh yes, I think Queen Consort. Queen and Queen Consort, essentially, she is the consort of the king, but that's only a sensible progression. And I think people will find the consort rather, it's rather heavy handle. So it's just what will happen, or undoubtedly, I would say.
Yeah. So it's not, people probably make a big deal out of nothing then.
Essentially, it was done by the Queen at the beginning of her year of the Platinum Jubilee, and it's that made what followed so much easier for Prince Charles, because there's no doubt there's a past there. All of us of a certain age remember it, and Camilla's managed to do, I think, fantastically well. I think that she's, the recent intervention she made with reference to reading, which is always what she's taken an interest in, and the alterations rather obviously referring to the rewritten Roald Dahl books, that sort of thing, is an intervention in a cultural area. And I think that is significant, and I think she did well, and I think that will be supported.
Definitely. $1 million question. I know we don't know the answer to this one, but do you feel like Harry and Meghan will be invited and attend the coronation?
I feel that they'll definitely be invited, but I think that the dynamic is changing. I think we've got to remember that if we look at the last polls, I've just written them out, in the United States, what we've got essentially is a change, is a seismic change. In December, Meghan was plus 23 and Harry was plus 38. And then Harry is now minus 10 and Meghan is minus 37. And that was, I think, up or down, should I say, from minus 7 and minus 17. So if that is indicative of the way people are thinking of them in the United States, I think they have a lot to be worried about. Now, Harry was saying that the ball is in the court of the royal family. They want an apology. I apologize to my wife, he said. I quote this Sunday the Daily Telegraph, that they deliberately, with the aid of the press, drove him and Meghan out. Essentially, that's what they're saying, and they want an apology and they want a discussion. dynamics are changing. The royals are put up with a tremendous amount of problems so far as they're concerned. I mean, they've, since the beginning of December to the publication of Spare and all those interviews, another interview coming up, it's been a damaging and difficult time for them. The dynamic has changed. In America, people don't like the royal, trashing your family is not a good idea. And this is what, to a large extent is coming out now in these polls. So it's not, the ball is in the Sussex's court. And if they play by the rules, they may appear. And if they appear, they will be, talk will be of the weather, and they will be very, very, very carefully, to quote from Shakespeare, cabined, cribbed, confined. They will know exactly what they're doing. They will take part in a certain amount. They will not be on the balcony. And all of that will be arranged, no doubt. But the idea that they can control the agenda, tell that to South Park.
Right, exactly. I mean, it does. I mean, it was rumored that Harry, like you said, wants this apology, wants this summit before he attends. But now, like you said, dynamics are changing, and it seems like the ball is more in. It's up to Harry and Meghan pretty much, I would imagine, to reach out. Do you think that this summit will happen? Do you think that they're going to get an apology or a sit down? No,
No, it's definitely not. There's no reason they should. And I mean, I think it's absolutely clear that that is not an option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like...
I don't think it's an option. Whether they still think it's an option is another matter, but those polls are different.
Yeah. No, I mean, do you feel like the longer there is no communication, the less likely it is that they will mend this rift?
I don't think the rift's going to be mended foreseeably. That's all I can say about it. I mean, it's very deep, and we know why, and we know the background, so I don't see it.
Mm-hmm. How do you think William will feel if Harry and Meghan attend the coronation? Because, yes, Harry does go after his father in the book, but not as much as William. And I think a lot of people are probably taken back by that. So do you think that, William has stronger feelings for Harry maybe not attending the coronation?
Well, those are rumors that he has. I mean, there's no doubt he feels very strongly. Charles is a symbol of national unity, of course, as the monarch, and the invitation comes from him. So far as William's concerned, I mean, it's a terribly deep rift, and I don't see it being mended. And I think, also remember, Harry's threatened another book, 800 pages. It's a threat. So you can't ignore things like that. It's awful.
Right. Do you think the royal family is fully expecting them to attend? And what kind of message does it send if they don't? It almost seems like a lose-lose situation, because if they do attend, I feel like that's what the story is going to be about. If they don't attend, it's still what the story is going to be about.
No. I have to say that I think a lot of going up to it, the run-up, I think that will be, a very significant story. There's no doubt about that. But I would say that when you get the event, I think Harry and Meghan will be very subsumed into it. And I don't think they will dominate it at all. Quite the contrary, just as they didn't either the Platinum Jubilee or obviously the Queen's funeral. No, I don't agree that will be so. And I think they are news, but they are less, their brand is worth less, it seems, at the moment in the States. That's what they're concerned about, and that is what they should be worried about. And
like you were saying before, you always said that this was probably the worst thing that Harry could have done, was writing this book. Do you still...
They had the idea that it was, the Duke of Windsor took 15 years before he wrote it. There was nothing like as sensational. This is purely making money out of family trauma, and no one had any idea, as far as I could see publicly anyway, that he felt so jealous and that he resented his brother. It's a deeply sad story with tragic aspects to it, but also comic aspects. The idea that, the penile frostbites in such detail, they're talking to dustbin lids with the drugs business, they're the losing his virginity, all of that. It started to look very, very tawdry.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. How will the king be honoring Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth during the coronation as well?
That we've yet to find out, but what is very likely, and I mean, there will be pieces of music that will be linked to them. There will be occasions during the ceremony, undoubtedly, which will be specifically linked to those who are no longer with us, and there'll be a very, very sensitively that I'm sure that will be handled. But of course, we don't know the details of the service yet, and we'll have to wait for that. I mean, pieces of music, various forms of or types of ritual are chosen, so that it brings back memories. So obviously, that is part of it.
Definitely. How do you feel King Charles has done so far in his first few months as king?
Well, I think he's done very well. I think his succession speech was extremely good. I think he's shown very clearly, simply by being there, that, the monarch's powers are not the powers they have, but the powers they deny to others. That's a very significant aspect to it. And a symbol of national unity, I think he's been very good. I think that he and Camilla, I think they work together as a team, same age, same sense of humor, same types of friends, very, very similar in all sorts of ways. And he's done what is necessary. He knows he can't be an activist king. At the moment, there's quite a lot of row because he's given the arguments over the Northern Ireland Protocol and the fact that he will be meeting Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the EU Commission. There's a lot of discussion as to whether or not he should. I mean, I don't see it as part of the monarchy being involved into politics, but it is being played that way by a lot of people, especially Brexiteers and some from Northern Ireland, and that it will not be helpful to the king. But essentially, he acts on the advice of his prime minister. So if he meets the commission president, then the reason is because he's been advised to do it. And I really don't see the problem as such. I mean, there'll be a royal visit to Paris. I think that will be very spectacular. I think there may well be one to Berlin. They spread goodwill.
Definitely. Have you noticed any changes in Prince William and Princess Catherine ever since they have become the Prince and Princess of Wales, or do you feel like it's business as usual for them?
Well, I mean, they've been spending some time, of course, in Wales, and the links with the community are very precious with the new post. I think, obviously, there was this visit to Boston, which was fraught because of problems at the palace, the trailer released, all of that. I mean, it was clearly unhelpful. But I mean, there's no doubt that they have handled things impeccably, and it would be fascinating to see where their next trip will be, and hopefully, remembering the previous one was to the Caribbean, things will be, be a very good use of soft power. I mean, in everything they do, they shine as far as I can see.
That is
but
true.
Not necessarily in a way that you put your finger on it as such. I mean, it's part of royal life. The royals are reviewing the palace is reviewing the list of patronages, because that's something that has to be attended to, because there were so many linked to Prince Philip and to the Queen, and who will be taking on what and so on. So that's important.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below, and visit usmagazine.com.